All right, fans, welcome to this week's The Final Count Spotlight, and I am joined by my guest, all the way from the land down under in Australia, the Diamond Standard EC Diamond. EC Diamond, how are you doing today?
I'm really good. I was just saying off air, it's pretty chilly today here in Australia for some reason. I have no idea why. Um, so I may have forgotten my jumper, but here we are. We're good.
There you go. There you go. As we're recording this, and this will be out for fans that are listening in or watching in the United States. This will be out on next Monday. For fans that are listening in your home country of Australia, this will be out on next Tuesday. So next Tuesday morning, people over there in Australia can be looking for this interview as well. So, uh, first of all, welcome to the show and uh, getting right into this. When did you decide to get into the pro wrestling business?
Uh, I think I was 5 years old. Me and my family would go to New Zealand every year for a little holiday, and we were walking past the DVD shop, and there was a DVD of SummerSlam 2002. Um, and The Rock and Brock were on the cover, and I was intrigued. So my father bought the DVD, and we went back to the hotel and watched it, and I was hooked. I was hooked from start to finish. All I can remember is The Rock laying down that title, sprinting to the ring, and they go at it, and I was hooked, man. Uh, from that day forward, it was pro wrestling, everything. I mean, my bed, I had a little single bed, and it had the ropes around it. So I was, throwing my little dolls around on the bed. It was great. I
Oh,
loved it.
that is awesome.
That was my little introduction to wrestling. And yeah, I'm 24 now, and I've been doing it for 10 years. So
Wow.
it's great.
That is awesome. I love
Yeah.
that, and I love that you had a bed like a wrestling ring. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It was
Wow.
different. So,
Yes, definitely. And then that Rock and Brock feud, that was quite a feud right there to
oh,
get
100.
hooked in
I,
on.
I wish I'd watched it when it was actually happening, but I was two. So
Yeah,
yeah.
right. So now when you started watching, who were some of your inspirations or people that you really enjoyed watching? Who did you gravitate to?
I mean, Cena, obviously, that's a big one. I mean, who doesn't love John?
Definitely.
Uh, I was always a big fan of the bad guys. So, Triple H, I was hooked with Triple H. He'd come out and just look jacked as ever. Long hair, came out, spit in the water. That was awesome. And CM Punk. I'm a big CM Punk guy. So, yeah, I think Cena, Trips, and Punk were my guys.
That's quite a list of guys right there to have as inspirations. And yeah, I'm with you. I love to cheer on the hill. I love the bad guys. So yeah, um, yeah, that's really cool. And I like that you said Sam Punk because so originally when I was a kid, I grew up watching Punk in LVW.
Yeah,
And so I got that privilege to be able to watch him when he was here in Louisville in LVW.
yeah,
And
that
like that was really cool. I wasn't really a fan of him at that point, but then once he started in WWE, once he got to the especially around the best in the world and the straight edge society, I started liking him then. Um,
yeah. Well, I was so when I got into the business, I obviously studied a lot,
right.
um, and my go to was like Ring of Honor CM Punk
Yes.
when he did that trio of matches with Samoa Joe.
Hmm.
I still watch those matches to this day because the fact that they can go for an hour and keep someone watching for an hour long, and
Right.
it's 80s anymore, so that's not a big thing anymore. So for them
Hmm.
to go an hour long and keep every on the edge of their seat,
Definitely.
it's mind blowing. Yeah, so that's my sort of Punk era that I really enjoy. Um, but obviously, him coming into WWE around the 2011 mark was obviously when he got his big comeuppance. So yeah,
Definitely, definitely. Now speaking of training, who were you trained by?
I was trained by a guy called 13 here in Queensland. So yeah, from day dot, he was my trainer. I originally came in through a company called QCW, which was on the Sunshine Coast, really small federation. And they closed down. 13 was a part of that company, and when they closed down, he sort of just took me under his wing, and yeah, the rest is history. I just learned every single thing from him, and I'm very grateful for the amount of knowledge I could pick from his brain.
What was that training? What was that training like?
To start with, because we were still sort of new to the business, he obviously had a lot more knowledge than me. It was very slow, so we were learning just the basics and whatnot by just traveling the roads and going to different training schools and stuff like that. And it wasn't until about maybe 2017, 2018 when we started getting Muhammad Ali Vaez in.
Mm-hmm.
That was when we started leveling up and just really grinding with that sort of stuff. So yeah, that was the big turning point, having him a part of the company.
Oh, so I completely forgot that. Is he still down there? Is he still in
I think so.
Australia?
Ages, but yeah. Honestly, Vaez is probably, along with Al, the smartest people in wrestling that I can think of. 100.
Completely agree. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Now let's get into your first match. Do you remember your first match and what was that like?
Uh, my first singles match was against 13. It was in a uh, it was in the middle of nowhere, so we were just in this small little town, and we were given the opportunity to have a match there. And I was under the mask at that stage. So for those that don't know, I was wearing a mask when I first started wrestling because I looked like a baby. So they put a hood over me and threw me out there. But I was just a nervous wreck and just freaking out, properly freaking out. And I took a whip into the corner post on the outside, and I just got knocked out.
Oh my!
So
Oh wow!
I don't remember much of it, but I know it wasn't good.
Hey, I mean that's how everyone's. At least it seems to me, as much as I've been doing these interviews, it seems to me that every person's first match is always something interesting and something that they always remember. Either it didn't go so good or it went so good. So,
Yeah, it was definitely a shocker, that's for sure.
um, while we're talking about matches, if you could pick 3 matches that you've had thus far in your career as your top favorites, what matches would you pick?
This would probably be the point where I go, oh, the next one, but I won't do that. I'll probably go. I did a match with 13 in 2018. Before I won the UPW championship, that was number one for me. It has been from day one. The second one would probably be one of the matches I had with Jesse Love. And then I think number 3 would be I had a house show match at OVW with Steve Michaels.
Mm.
And it was just a good crowd. The crowd were behind it. They really got it. And that was a big one for me because coming from Australia and coming over there, I didn't really think I'd get, the cheers, and I did. So yeah, I really liked that match. So
Yeah, I have to say, you were a pretty lovable guy over here in OVW at that time. Yeah, for
yeah, it
sure.
was before tattoos, like before I got all of this. So
Right.
I just look like a baby. So that's probably why.
There you go. So speaking of your mask, what was the reason behind no longer wrestling under the mask?
Evolution. I think I was getting to the point where I didn't look like a baby as much, and my in-ring skill was leveling up at the same time, and I didn't want to be that guy that was known for wearing the mask and being a luchador because that's not really my style. So yeah, I think it was just time to get rid of it.
Mhm.
Um, It was really hard to work under a mask because, props to the guys that do. There is so much more work that you have to do when you have a mask on. Like you
Definitely.
can't sell this when you can't see this. You know what I mean? So big props to the people that do that, but it just wasn't for me. So
Yeah, that's a very good point. You can't sell your moneymaker, if you're under a mask. It's not gonna happen. I mean, and there's people that get over under a mask, but
yeah,
it's gonna be hard to sell that moneymaker, and sell your facial expressions and everything
that's
under
it.
a mask.
They've got to work twice as hard because obviously you can't see their face, so that their body movement is how they're selling. So
Definitely. Right.
and they have to work twice as hard. And as I said, big props to them because they get it done.
Yes, of course. Can you talk about your match with Freddie Gold at UPW Thrill Ride?
Oh, okay, yeah. That was a while ago. I'm surprised you know about that one. I don't even know if I can remember that one. Freddie's from interstate, so he wasn't from Queensland. He came and did the match with me. He did a couple shows for us actually, and I think at the time he was doing some training with Viez as well.
Mhm.
So it was obviously a learning session for me. You know what I mean? So getting in the ring with him, it's always a learning curve, because he's been doing it longer than me, and obviously with some of the best in the country. So, and at that stage, I was still a bit green as well, trying to get my feet into what my persona and my in-ring stuff was like. So I'd like to say it would have been good, but on my end, I probably wasn't as prepared as I should have been. So, but I'm pretty sure Thrill Ride was a pretty good show for us, which was big because we were doing shows at Aussie World, which is like a little amusement park,
Right.
on Sunshine Coast, and yeah, those shows were always fun. So I know I would have had a lot of fun. I don't know if the match was up to standards, but yeah,
That's always fun. Amusement park shows are always fun. I
yeah,
know OVW used to have back in the days, the WWE developmental days. They used to have summer shows at Kentucky Kingdom, and those were always a blast. Oh my goodness.
yeah.
Um, so what was it like being a part of the Circus of Tragedy?
Uh, that was a fun one because it was a faction that was done in QCW, like I was saying before, that smaller fed that I started in, and 13 was a part of that. And when UPW was starting up, they were trying to find spots to put me in, and being uh, that 13 was my mentor, we tried to keep us all together. So we restarted that faction, and obviously 13 being the leader. And that was another thing where I was trying to still find my persona. So I was doing like a little bit of face paint over my eyes, like a clown or something like that. Um, it didn't last very long. I think it was only a couple months that we did that. But it was fun because I got to have some tag matches with the Shower Man, who is quite a big character here in Queensland. It's this guy that comes out in a bathrobe and he's washing his pits. It's great. It is the funniest thing you will see. So being a part of a tag team with him was awesome. And then once I started going off on my own, they sort of reaffirmed the circus of tragedy with Pogo the Clown and 13, and they took it to another level. So guess we started and they just changed the game with it. So
I love that name, by the way. That's such a cool name for a faction right
yeah,
there.
yeah, it's cool.
Especially like a horror esque type, based on what it sounds like,
Yeah.
horror esque type of faction right there. Um, Now, how did you come up with your monikers, A Cut Above the Rest and the Diamond Standard?
A cut above the rest was obviously just a play, or they're both plays on diamonds. The diamond standard I don't want to say that I sort of stole it from Shelton Benjamin. But, you know, he was the gold standard, and I went, you know what? I'm a cut above that. And then I went, oh, wait, I can use that as well. So I sort of used the diamond standard and a cut above the rest. But in no way, shape, or form am I saying that I am better than Shelton Benjamin, because there is no way in God's green earth that I am better than Shelton Benjamin. I just want to put that out there.
I love those monikers though. Just it works. It works, and
Well, it's
play on words or not, it still works.
yeah.
How would you describe yourself to someone who has not seen your in ring work?
I'm very much the underdog, and I always have been. I'm usually facing off with people that are bigger than me. I'm not the biggest guy, you know. I'm slim now. I was a chunkier boy a couple of years ago. But I'm not the tallest person either. So I'm always fighting from under. And I like to think of myself as the ultimate underdog wherever I go. You know, when I was a kid, I got bullied a lot in school, and I left school because of it. So I've sort of just, you know, the way I looked at Cena when I was a kid is, you know, that's what I want to do. You know, that's who I want to be when I'm older. I sort of want to have that sort of same thing for kids that are in the crowd watching me as well, because at the end of the day, that's why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I love this industry. I love what it brings to people's lives. I love people. I love making people happy, sad, angry, you know, all that sort of stuff. You know, we have a show over here called Home and Away. I think it's equivalent to, or is it Bolden the Beautiful over there? Is that what it's called?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah. So it's sort of like a soap opera, and that's what we do. We're a soap opera with half naked, sweaty dudes. Like that.
Yeah.
That's what we do. So I like to think that entertainment is a big thing for me, and I really want to inspire people and make them feel the same way as I did as a kid.
I love that answer. I love that answer. And you know, going through your social media and looking at the pictures on your Instagram, especially, you know, just seeing where you like are going back and thinking like and recognizing different fans. That was so cool to me. Um, like there was a young girl. The name slips me right now, but noticed you made a few posts about her, like, and about how she's been like your number one fan, and like that's giving back to people, you know, and I love that.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, if you are ignoring people in the crowd, then why are they going to come back? Like it's. I like to look down at the kids and see that there's a smile on their face, because I know that I'm doing my job then.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings happiness to me outside of wrestling as well, because I want these kids to have a good life. You know, that there's people out there that are struggling. Let's be honest. There's people that don't have the best lives. They don't have the best home life. And if I can just, you know, give them the tiniest bit of happiness for that split second, then I'm happy.
Exactly. What was it like back in 2018 winning the UPW Australia Over the Top Rumble and becoming the number one contender for the UPW Australia Championship?
That was great for me, because UPW was the company that gave me my start pretty much. They sort of just gave me the ball and let me roll with it. So winning the Rumble, it gave me the opportunity to open my eyes and realize that there's an opportunity in front of me. There's a real big opportunity, and I need to take it. So yeah, I'm stoked that I got the opportunity to do so, and being UPW champion, it was a big moment for me, because it was in front of my hometown crowd. It was in front of my family, my friends. It's funny though, because you look so forward to something, and then it just flies by, like it goes really quickly, and you don't have the time to just sit and soak it in.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it really hit me until a couple days later when I looked down at my gear bag and there's a championship in it, and I was like, oh, okay, that's something. So no, it was fun times. I loved my time at UPW. It was great.
And speaking of being champion, you are believe correct me if I'm wrong, you are a two-time UPW champion.
Yeah, correct. Yes.
Awesome. That is awesome. And so you kind of touched on this already. But what did it mean to you becoming the UPW champion? Um, and then that was in your match against Matthew Gabriel.
Yeah. So we had this big build because the Gospel and 13 were sort of in this faction together, and it felt really right at the time to do it at, I think we did it at the Sacrifice, if I'm correct. And it was just a big build. So not only did I get up on the Gospel, but I also got my payback on 13 for stabbing me in the back. And to sit in the middle of the ring, I had there was an autistic fan that came along, and I got him in the ring with me when I won. I got the girl that you were just talking about. I got her in the ring, and we just had this really cool moment. And that doesn't happen every day. And like I was saying, you don't get to sit in it and let it soak it in. So it just flew by like that. And I wish it could just sit around for a couple hours so I can just enjoy it. But looking back on it now, I'm really proud of that moment.
That's very, very cool. Now, do you prefer to work as a heel or baby face?
I'll be honest, I have never worked as a heel ever.
Really?
I'm out to try and be a heel, and I get the exact opposite reaction. So, yeah, I mean, I'm never going to say never. Like, it might happen one day, but I love being a baby face, man. It's great. There's no better feeling than coming out, seeing people with your name on signs, with your T-shirt on, chanting your name. It is the best feeling ever.
Definitely, definitely. Who were some of your favorite people to work with in UPW Australia?
So the Gospel, 100%. 13. Jesse Love, and I think that's it. I think that, I mean, it was a lot of matches I did with the three of those people. So I had a match with Ricky Rembrandt. That was a big one as well. That was
Yes.
a top babyface versus top babyface. And he was just coming back from cancer. So that was a big match for me as well. So, those guys are my favorites to do stuff with at UPW.
And then kind of from there you would come here to America to go to OVW. How did your time in OVW come to be, and what was it like coming to America?
So we had House of Hardcore come to Aussie World to do a show. So that was through Muhammad Ali Vias as well. So he got that deal, that ball rolling. Sorry, and I didn't know I was going to be on the show. But like an hour before doors opened, I was told, okay, you got a match, so get ready. So, I'm having this match against 13, and I look out and I see Mick Foley, Al Snow, and Tommy Dreamer watching my match. And as a young Australian kid, never in my wildest dreams did I ever think I would look out and see three of, the biggest names in wrestling watching my match. Granted, it was, again, not the best match. But we came backstage and Al was sitting there with his little plastic cup of whiskey, and he was giving me feedback, and I just said, you know what, I'll see you in a few months. So, I organized my trip and went straight over there. It was a big culture shock because it's wrestling for you guys is so much bigger than it is here. And, it was such a blessing to be able to be a part of OVW at that time. I had a ball. It was great. I had so much fun. I made some lifelong friends there. The guy I was rooming with, Stu, he's an absolute legend. and I met like they're pretty much my brother and sister, AJZ and Callie. They are honestly like family to me now, and it's crazy to think that I haven't seen them in 5 years, but here we are 5 years later, and miss them like crazy. So yeah,
I love that you got to come here and experience American experience OVW. Definitely, I told you this before we started recording. I'd love for you to be able to make it back here at some point. That'd be really cool for sure. Um, as far as guys in OVW, what was it like working with Dimes?
oh, that was great. It was so easy. Like he just gets it. I mean, he spent so much time at Rip's, Rip Rogers classes that it just comes easy to him. So to just go out there and have fun, I think we did a dark match maybe, or I can't remember, but we did a match for OVW and it was just easy, man. And he's just such a genuine dude. Like another person that I made a lifelong friendship with. So yeah, coolest dude, really underrated wrestler in my opinion. Is he still wrestling? I don't see much of him. Like,
So, yeah, I don't know if he's still wrestling or not. He hasn't been around OVW for a while,
okay.
since at least a year or two, something like that.
Well, shout out to Dimes.
Yes, definitely. Shout out to Dimes. He's actually an alumni of the show too, so very, very cool. And another guy, what was it like working with Cash Flow? I know those chops were probably
My chest
so
still,
much.
my chest still hurts.
But
No, great. That was great. Another dude that is just a really genuine person. And you would have seen that on the Netflix show. Like he is just a really down to earth person. But when you step in that ring with him, he's as mean as they come.
definitely, 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 those chops are nothing to play around with.
Brutal.
And then who were some of your other favorite people to work with in OVW?
Um, Amon, that was a big one. Corey Storm, he was cool to have a little roll around with. The whole legacy of brutality, I was pretty much just their rag doll for a couple of shows. That was fun. And Turbo, I always had fun working with him, and he's doing stuff for AEW now, so that's pretty cool to see. So
Definitely,
yeah,
definitely. All those names, definitely. Amon, he's such, he's one that's been away from OVW for a little bit too now, and he was really awesome, really
yeah,
awesome.
good
Um,
work.
definitely, definitely. Now getting back to your move, I told you this before. I love that finisher at super kick. So how did you come up with naming your finisher the super duper kick?
So we have a little ice block. It's sort of like a thin ice block called the Zupa Duper. And it's really good for when it's hot here in Australia. So people just have packets on packets on packets in their freezer. And I remember doing the super kick and then watching the footage back, and someone went Zupa Duper kick. And I was like, yep, I'm stealing that. So, yeah, I turned it to the super duper kick. And that's pretty much how it came. And I like to think that I throw a pretty good super kick.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I'd put that up there with like Shawn Michaels type of super kick. That's uh, Shawn Michaels and you would be a good match. I think.
Oh, mate, I
Yeah,
would love that.
I think that would be cool to see. Just like I said, your super kick. When I went back and watched some videos of you and your matches, I was like, wait, whoa, that super kick is like crazy on point and everything.
Yeah.
Like, it just looks so good. I was like, whoa. Oh. So if you could have a battle of super kicks, of the super kick match, who would you feel your opponent should be?
I mean, Shawn Michaels would be cool.
It would.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, I'd like to say Shawn Michaels. I don't want to say the Young Bucks because that's such a generic answer. Because I mean, I could say Jey Uso, but like, again, that's just a generic answer. I mean, Dolph Ziggler would be cool. I think he throws a pretty good one.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great answer too. So if you could create your own match type, what would it consist of? What would the rules of the match be? And what would the name of the match be?
Okay. This is a hard one. I mean, I could say just a match where you can only throw super kicks, but I don't think that'd be very entertaining. I don't know. Maybe like a match where you got to go an hour long until you can start pinning someone, just purely for the cardio. I'd do that. That'd be fun.
That'd be
Yeah, call it the Diamond Special. I don't know. I'm just making things up.
no, I like that. I like that. So what are some of your goals in the next 5 years?
5 years. I'd love to come back to OVW. That would be a big one. The thing is, I'm purely focused on just building what we're building here at Queensland. Because I feel like Queensland gets a pretty bad rap. I think Melbourne and Sydney is pretty much where majority of the big wrestling is. I mean, that's where Matty Wahlberg's from, or sorry, Grayson Waller. Adelaide as well with Rhea Ripley and Buddy as well. But like, I just want to build what we're building in Queensland because I think they just look down upon us in those states, and I want to change that. And I know there's a bunch of people around me that want to do the same thing. So another goal would be to bring Queensland wrestling back to where it should be, and that's in that top tier of Australian wrestling. So that'd be cool to get done. And I mean, I got a goal coming up this Saturday. Ticking off the list against Toa at Dreamworld. That'd be a really big match for the IPW Unified Championship. So that's another goal coming up. So I like to think that I'm always just ticking goals off the list.
There we go. There we go. And I definitely wish all those goals come to fruition for sure. Definitely get Queensland as a big area, a big state for wrestling there in Australia. So you kind of touched on this a little bit too just now. What are some goals you have within the remainder of 2024?
I think just consistently wrestling every weekend. I mean, it's very different to the States. Over there, you can wrestle every night if you want. You can get on the road and you can find a show down the road and you can wrestle every night. Over here, it's slim pickings. You get to wrestle once a week, which I'm fine with. I would love to wrestle every night, although my back says otherwise. But I think, yeah, just being consistent for the rest of the year with wrestling. Beating Toa this weekend, that's something I want to get done. That'd be great. Very big Samoan kid, and it's going to be a very hard fought match, that's for sure. Yeah, I think for the rest of 2024, I want to provide good entertainment and good matches. That'd be another big goal.
Definitely. And definitely, again, all those goals for this year to come true for you. If you could have a match with your dream opponent, who would it be? What type of match would it be? And where would the venue location be?
All right. So it'd be CM Punk. It'd be at the Davis Arena. And it would be... Let's go an Iron Man match. That'd be great. That'd be cool.
That would be great. That would really be great.
Match.
Wow. Yeah, that would really... I'd pay to see that. I would. I'd pay to see that. I saw you have bobbleheads, or I don't know if they're out of bobbleheads or
they're like a 3D printed pop vinyl.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was a very limited run a couple of years ago, just to see what the sort of audience for that was. And Queensland doesn't have a very big audience for it, I figured out. So,
Gotcha.
yeah. There's a
So
couple, so there's a couple out there that might be worth something one day. Who knows?
that's what it was. I said bobblehead. It's
They're the
pop vinyl. I'm like,
they're the same
kind of
thing.
same thing. um, but now that leads into how can fans purchase merch for you, EC Diamond? How can they get EC Diamond merch?
So they will be at every wrestling show that I attend, and you can purchase them through my Facebook page, EC Diamond.
All right. And fans, I encourage you to definitely, if you're at a show in the area and EC Diamond is there, get one of his merchandise, get some of his merchandise, get a t-shirt, picture, all that good stuff. And then also any upcoming shows you would like to promote. I know you said you have one coming up.
Yeah, I got one this weekend at Dreamworld, which is another. I think it's one of Australia's biggest amusement parks for IPW. It's called Ace of Impact. So it'll be me against the Samoan Beast Toa for the IPW Unified Championship. So that's a big one. And then June 15th, I believe, is Wide Bay Pro Wrestling at Barolga Hall. I think that's what it's called. So that'll be another one. And it's pretty much every weekend for me at the moment. So just keep your eyes on socials. I always post about it.
Awesome fans, if you're in the area, get out to these shows, get out and support indie wrestling, support wrestling in your area for sure. How can fans find you on social media?
So Facebook is EC Diamond, simple. And Instagram is diamondbrand_.
All right, fans, go follow him, EC Diamond, on all of his social media. And then as well, I want to ask, how can promoters, if there's a promoter out there listening and they're like, I need to get EC Diamond, I need to get the Diamond Standard on my next show, how can I go about doing that?
DM me.
There you go. Promoters, if you're listening, watching,
Yeah.
hit his DMs up, get him on your
Yeah.
next show.
Shoot me an email or send me a letter in the post.
Yes, exactly.
That's
Hit him
all
up, send the email, send a letter on the post.
Yeah.
Bring him in for your next show. At this time, EC Diamond, I'd love to thank you again for coming on the Final Count Spotlight and being my guest this week.
Thank you so much for having me. I haven't done one of these in a while, so I know I'm a bit rusty. I'm freezing, so I'm shaking because it is absolutely freezing out here. But it's been a privilege, mate. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome, and you can come back anytime, sir.
I'll be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.